All right, folks, it is Friday, August the 1st, 2025. And of course, a lot's going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on World Edition, and seeing what folks have got to say about a number of these stories that are taking place and what's going on around the world and in the world, and all in that way. Trump's new tariffs are giving some countries a break, and definitely looks like there is some further modifying of the reciprocal tariff rates. Trump's new tariff regime is set to take effect in a week. So apparently, the stock market has fallen on based on weak job reports and Trump's new tariffs. So that is definitely something that people are talking about in the sense of the news and all along those lines. So that is definitely something that is being reported on and that folks are paying attention to. Israel kills starving Palestinians as U.S. envoy visits aid sites. A Trump envoy Witkoff is set to visit Gaza as aid crisis deepens. U.S. officials on a rare visit to the controversial Gaza aid distribution site, and definitely we'll see what about that. As, like I said, Donald Trump envoy Steve Witkoff is visiting the Gaza aid death trap. And France and UK and others plan to recognize a Palestinian state. Trump escalates the trade war with Canada following the Palestinian state, and Trump has threatened trade deal after Canada moves toward recognizing Palestine. So definitely, it looks like Trump is seeking to use Canadians' recognition of the Palestinian state as leverage in his trade talks. And looting, chaos, and Israeli gunfire prevent aid from reaching Gazans. So some people, including the Telegraph, are saying why children are starving so much faster than adults in Gaza. And some folks are definitely asking about that and all along those lines. South Korea jailed ex-leader Yoon resists questioning by taking off his clothes and lying on the floor. So definitely that is something that is going on as he resisted questioning by lying in his underwear. And a special counsel fails to execute a detention warrant for the ex-president. El Salvador scraps term limits, paving way for Bukele to seek re-election. El Salvador changes its constitution, ending term limits for Nayib Bukele. And El Salvador is approved indefinite presidential re-elections, extends the presidential term to 6 years. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about as well. And Zelensky has signed a law restoring power to anti corruption bodies. Young Ukrainians get their way as Zelensky overturns law to defuse crisis. Ukraine approves law restoring independence of the anti graft watchdogs following that particular backlash. And the fairground ride snaps mid-air in Saudi Arabia, injuring 23, according to their state media, and all along those lines. So definitely that is something going on in that part of the world. South African rhino horns turned radioactive to fight poachers, or poachers, I should say. And definitely that is something else that's going on in the world and in the coverage of the world as well. So lots going on in that space, and we'll see what folks have to say about that also. But a lot's going on in that way, and definitely we'll be hearing a number of reports on this and seeing what folks have to say about some of these reports coming out of the world and around the world and all in that way. So definitely a lot's going on as we're talking about a number of things taking place in the U.S. and around the country and the world. So definitely I see that John has joined us. We'll see if any other folks join us as well. But definitely that is some of the news reports that are going on in this particular time and all along those lines. So definitely a lot's taking place in that sense. So we're trying to find out more news reports and what folks are finding that are of interest to them and all along those lines. So definitely a lot is taking place around the globe and around the world, and we're glad to be talking about these various stories, including that a Kyiv apartment block strike marks the deadliest attack on Ukraine's capital since 2024. So Ukrainians are mourning 31 killed in a Russian strike on Kyiv. So definitely that is something going on, and we do have a reporter that comes out of Kyiv that sometimes is in the reports on Tuesday and Friday when Sasha does his Ukrainian Russia show and all along those lines. So definitely that is something that people have been talking about and definitely covering, and we'll be having that report coming up at 11 o'clock. to see what folks have got to say about that particular story and all along those lines. I've got Dr. Sharif joining me and John. And like I said, we will be having other reports coming that way. Canadian Prime Minister Carney has responded to Trump's tariff increase. So President and Trump has given Mexico a reprieve, but slams Canada with higher tariffs. So Trump says global baseline tariff rate will stay at 10%, but Canada is going to go up to 35%. So that is definitely something that folks are talking about. African countries are bracing for the impact as Trump announces further tariffs. So definitely U.S. imposed tariffs spelled disaster for one factory, according to the AP News, that exported clothes to American stores. And the looks like the California governor's race is wide open. It was in limbo. Kamala Harris tells Stephen Colbert that U.S. democracy is broken, and she had reasonable doubt, which is why Kamala Harris says she isn't running for governor. But she did open the door to a presidential run by declining the California bid. And Wisconsin Republicans face angry town hall over Trump agenda. U.S. Representative Brian Still met by hostile audiences during a raucous town hall. So that is something that folks are talking about as well. And a teacher was charged in an Arkansas couple's murder is set to appear in court. So that's that whole case around the Devil's Den double homicide and all in that place. So we'll definitely be following this trial as well. And nobody came. Hill Country flooding survivor recount anguish and neglect during the time that they were trying to recover from the flood. So there was a hearing on the deadly Texas flood that revealed local officials missed emergency planning briefings. So county emergency official says he was ill and sleeping as the Texas flood hit, and all in that way. And ICE efforts to poach local officers anger some local law enforcement leaders. So ICE is enticing new recruits with a patriotism pitch, I should say, and a pledge of 50,000 signing bonus. So you'll get 50,000 if you decide to join ICE, and of course they're going for the patriotism appeal as well. So DHS has launched a Defend the Homeland nationwide to recruit patriots to join ICE law enforcement and remove "quote unquote" worst of the worst from the U.S. And Trump is reviving the presidential fitness test, a rite of passage for school children for decades. So the presidential fitness test is to return through Trump executive order. So it looks like he's revived that presidential fitness test for kids and all along those lines. Um, so we'll see whether this improves our health or not. Speaking of improved health, Chicago air quality today, smoke from wildfires in Canada is calling that to look like an unhealthy area. So it's bringing poor quality air quality to the Midwest as flood threats loom right here where I'm at in the Carolinas and all along those lines. And Republicans are moving to clear the final hurdles to the funding bill before the recess. So we'll see whether this happens or not, and all along those lines. And it did look like there was some job increases, and that was part of the reason that folks were talking about what was going on in terms of the expected it to be, and all along those lines. I'm trying to see if I can find that particular story to give people just a little bit of insight. It says the U.S. economy added only 73,000 jobs in July. So the U.S. job market was weak in July, and previous months were worse than thought. So U.S. job growth cooled amid growing economic uncertainty, and part of that uncertainty, of course, has to do with the tariffs and all along those lines. So we'll definitely see what folks have to see about that. The Smithsonian, by the way, has removed Trump from the impeachment exhibit in the American History Museum. So they have removed that part of the exhibit and everything like that. And new CDC director apparently grew up on a dairy farm and has 2 University of Wisconsin Madison degrees. So we'll see if that's enough to get her approved or not. So this ought to be interesting to see what goes on in that space. So how are you doing, Sharif, and what's happening in your life?
Thank you. A lot of things happening, like right now, Asia has a lot of challenges, but good news, I think Bangladesh get 20% tariff from USA. So right now, our business organizations and all of them are very positive. Uh,
What was the tariff rate before the 20%? I'm curious,
sev-
before Trump took office. So right now you say it's 20. What was it
mm,
before? During
70,
Biden?
70,
How much?
1 7.
My understanding it was 20.
Okay. I'm just sharing some of the important news from Asia. First
Yeah,
thing
okay.
first, for
No,
trade and economics.
I had a question because you keep saying that Trump is good for Bangladesh, and
Uh,
again, Trump.
I do not want to do debate
Okay,
because
no problem.
I do
Yeah,
not
go
like.
ahead. Sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting. Go ahead.
Anyway, but I was champion debaters, but I do not like debate right now. Anyway, the trade and economics, new U.S. tariff, factory slowdowns, and emerging trade pacts. So it is happening, but new tariff and all of the things is coming. Secondly, the regional affair, the South Korea political controversy, China, Kuwait, ammunition plans, everything is creating effect in Middle East market and also in the Asia Pacific market. In terms of local economy, Guangzhou and Shanghai underperform, so national GDP is below average. And sports, Pakistan cricket win, surprise exists in the Shanghai Masters and Tri Series and FIBA Asia Cup upcoming. These are some of the major indicators that we have our cultural things, we have our regional affairs, economical affairs, trade, and activities, and all of the things happening. Secondly, why I said I do not like debate, because reality is that I work with grassroots level people in Bangladesh. Uh, we engage with every institution and organization, at least in Bangladesh. From my understanding, there is zero impact what is Trump doing or whatever it is. Our own people has their own traditional way of living, their own economy of living, own activities of living. All of the big talk, big countries, big forums, big initiative, big show does not have any impact in grassroots level people. Thank you.
No problem at all and everything. I was just seeing this article. You'll love this, John and Jacoby. Apparently, Trump is lobbying, or maybe he's got other people lobbying for him to get a Nobel Peace Prize for brokering a ceasefire deal. I think that's between India and Pakistan. So apparently, the Cambodian deputy prime minister said Trump should get a Nobel Peace Prize for brokering that ceasefire deal, and Cambodia is to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. And apparently, his White House press secretary is trying to help with that lobbying. And so, what are our thoughts on
Yeah,
this notion
can I
of
respond quickly to Sheriff's comment? So I have no desire to debate anyone about Trump's policies in Bangladesh, but I think it's important for us to be honest in terms of what you've talked in the past, Sharif, about the wonderful tariffs rates in Bangladesh. My only point, and there's no need for us to debate it because it is a fact, is that Trump's
No, no, no.
rates
It's
are
not a fact.
higher today than it
It's not a
was
fact.
before
You
pre-Trump.
you you never come to Bangladesh. I visit Canada. I visit USA. You never come Bangladesh. You never come maybe India. You may not come
That's
to
irrelevant.
visit. No, no,
Anything.
definitely
I'm
relevant.
not going to
With
debate.
with
Sorry.
with with,
No,
with the Google informations, with doing Google search and Chat GPT, there is zero impact in human lives. Zero, zero, zero impact. So if you want to really go for debate, first you have to engage with the people. I do. My World Talent Economic Forum do.
I
We
have
go
no
for
interest in
real
debating.
life changing. I am not debating with you. I do not like this Western or world big thoughts and no values to engage with grassroots level people. Tariff has zero impact. My Raspberry people, zero
I want
impact.
to change the subject to the ballroom. Trump wants to spend $200 million, 1/5 of $1 billion, to build a 90,000 square foot ballroom replacing the east wing of the White House. So if you do the math, now Trump is supposedly this great builder contractor. That's $2,200 per square foot, which is 4 times the average cost for construction for a federal building in Washington, D.C. This is a huge ticket for grabs. More than $2,000.
Nick, I think you got that
Nick,
thing
your
going on
noise.
again. Yeah, you got that noise thing going on again, Nick. Nick.
So,
Yeah, you got that noise thing going on again.
all right.
But Rick, just really quickly, didn't he do some major renovations or also just recently changed the Rose Garden? And
yeah, he tore up the Rose Garden and replaced it with cement because he's a dick. How about that?
He did replace the Rose Garden and change it to cement and everything like that?
Yes.
Yeah, and for some reason, that's expensive. But when the Democrats want to spend $2 billion for internet for all, and like $2 trillion for all their other frivolous projects, that's okay. So I don't know when the Democrats decide to become fiscally responsible. They never have been under Biden for certain.
So
But
how many? All right. So
spends
how
money,
many people?
then all of a sudden it's bad.
Can you repeat those numbers, please, Nick?
You know, I don't get it. So the thing is, what it
Can you
is
repeat those numbers, Nick?
as they say, you're speaking on both sides of your mouth. So
Can you repeat those numbers?
Well,
I'd
not
like to
really,
fact
because
check
the
you in real
Republicans-
time.
go look at the
Republicans
cost
ran
of
on
time and
austerity.
internet for all.
So $2 billion for what?
$2 billion or
Can
maybe
you
it's $20 billion.
It's internet for all. Nick is
Internet
not a
for
fan
all?
of internet
Okay.
for all.
So the Republicans ran on Doge and austerity, and here they want to spend $1/5 billion on a ballroom. Now, the Democrats never claimed to be austere, but internet for all, all is right in the name of the freaking program. I assume it would benefit more people than this.
Okay, here we go.
I'll fact check. Hold on. I'll fact check that number.
I just fact it, assuming
Hold on.
is
Hold
correct.
on. Let me
It
finish.
says, quote,
The exact
the initiative includes a
is not
$65
explicitly mentioned.
billion investment. They call it investment. That's another name for government waste by Democrats. They call it investment. In the bipartisan infrastructure law to expand broadband and internet
Practiced by
access.
Democrats.
Okay, Rick, $65 billion down the tubes. And now you guys are complaining about 200 million.
No,
Please get real.
your
Okay.
numbers are wrong.
Canada has no say so.
Yeah, we're lazy too, right? Don't forget
Have,
that.
have no standing, which is one reason your tariffs are larger. But I'd like to hear from the Americans.
Okay,
Like,
since you're asking for Americans, and I'm jumping in because
65
again, just
billion being
you're
wasted
over here
for internet
gaslighting. Let
all.
me stop you real quick, Nick. Let me stop you real quick because you just said
Hey,
some
Jacoby,
BS. That
tell
was all
me
BS.
why.
You just said some BS. You just said some BS right
Well,
now.
hold on. I got some numbers. Wait.
Okay, go ahead, Rick. What you got numbers?
All right. So, Internet for All was a $14.2 billion program that provided subsidies for 40% of American households. So 40% of American households is 130 million Americans compared to this freaking ballroom. Yeah, it costs more than a ballroom, but it was designed to help more than 130 million Americans. I don't know that many took advantage of the program, but I don't know. It seems better for America to get America connected.
So honestly, Rick, we'll go down that path because that's a great discussion path. How does the ballroom help Americans?
Well, Trump says that for 150 years, presidents have been begging to have a big ballroom.
Hold on, Rick. How does it help Americans? Not just presidents. I'm talking about Americans.
Well, some people
ballroom
argue that it actually hurts business because for 100 years, the White House has been renting from hotels in Washington, D.C. when they need to hold a big event, which provides.
That's exactly. Hold on, Nick. Council. Hold on.
Okay, you guys spend $1.5 billion.
I'm asking the witness questions. So sit back, relax, and listen up. Now, Rick. You said that it hurts business by renting to businesses. So I would see that as different. So it helps businesses in the Washington D.C. area by becoming that rental or that preferred renter.
When they have like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which
Exactly.
that's not an official government event, but when the government holds a big event, they go to the like any freaking reasonable business.
Okay.
They go to the hotels that have convention centers and big old ballrooms.
So perfect. So now renting out these things from different businesses locally will help out the local economy by renting them out. By developing and putting this $200 million into this actual facility or this ballroom only helps whom? Only helps the people that live in the White House or actually come visit the White House. Now, if you're complaining that helping millions of Americans is bad, with an investment to help those millions of Americans is bad, but investing $200 million in something that will only affect maybe 1,000 people, maybe 2,000 people in a country of 330 plus million,
650 people.
Yeah. So again, your argument itself, Nick, is poor. Your complaint is ridiculous because what you're asking for is actually what you're living on, because Spain just has not only the energy for all, but it also has internet for most of its population. Is that correct? So now where you're living, you're happy, but you're complaining about us or the US trying to get to the point of where you are. Who is being hypocritical and who is not actually listening to what is actually going on? That is yourself. That is how poor the argument is of complaining about internet for all is just bad, even though I have it.
No. Your argument's wrong and extremely weak. And I'll tell you why. Number one, it is a government function to hold meetings with government employees and governments around the world. It is not a government function to provide internet to people in Anchorage, Alaska. That is a private industry function. Number two,
counsel, just to interject, counsel, just to interject.
I never like to interrupt, and
You
usually
just said
interrupt because
something
you know your
that
market.
even destroyed your
You
own
interrupt
argument.
for one reason, Jacoby.
You destroyed your own
arguments
argument.
are
You have
failing.
just now
By
destroyed.
the way, Dr. Sharif, you've done debates. When somebody interrupts,
Counsel,
it will
you
be
have
heard.
destroyed
They
your
have
own
now
argument. You have destroyed your own argument.
They got
You
a big
destroyed your own argument, counsel.
Wait,
Go
Is
ahead.
the
Continue your
ballroom
argument.
Wait.
is the ballroom the only place to hold meetings? No. So you have no argument on that. You can hold it. I mean, Trump is now going to make millions off of putting the G20 or the G7 over in his hotel. So therefore, again, you've destroyed your own argument by saying that they must hold these
Hold
meetings.
on. I've got a
They don't have to hold.
I've got a pertinent. Let me make a pertinent point. Trump says that this $200 million job will be privately financed through contributions and through Trump himself, which to me screams kickbacks and graft.
Corruption.
Like I said, the
You are
square foot. Hold on. Let me. The square foot cost.
The minute private industry takes over, what a stretch you progressives are. And one of the reasons you lose the election.
Incorrect. Here we
All
go.
of a sudden,
Here we
private
go.
industry is going to pay for it, and all of a sudden it's corrupt.
You're
Because
listening.
we
You're not
believe it's
listening.
corrupt.
You're not listening. You're not listening.
Come on, keep-
What Rick just stated that it was going to be.
No, it's all for hypothetical.
Nick, listen,
Objection.
use your 2 ears, not your
Objection,
one
calls for
mouth.
hypothetical.
Use your 2 ears, not your one mouth.
Where's my judge here?
Rick
Where's my
stated plain as day
call
exactly
for
what's happening. Listen, Nick.
Jesus,
Rick
man.
just pointed out plain as day exactly what's happening. That is going to be quote unquote privately financed.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about privately financed, that means somebody hidden in the shadows, like what's going on with his cryptocurrency deals, is actually giving money. Why are they giving money? Because they want kickbacks, just as Rick stated. Rick is spot on, but you don't want to hear it. That is the problem.
That, you know, in law, they call it calling for a hypothetical. What
Nick,
you did was just made up all the facts. There are a
You
lot of
stumbled
people,
on your own words because you know
there
you're saying
are a lot of people that give a lot of money to charity with no expectation.
who gives a lot of money to charity?
Let's talk
stole
about
money from
Bill
Trump
Gates.
stole money from charities.
Bill
That's why he
Gates.
lost his business in New
Listen,
York
you
because he was
don't
stealing
know
money
the
from
other.
charities.
Nick, when you lived in Florida, Nick, I bet you remodeled your house once or twice, right?
I'm doing it right now while we're talking.
Right, and you're going to be spending less than $200 a square foot for the remodel job,
I
right?
have no idea what I'm spending for remodel.
All right, but Trump wants to spend $2,200 a square foot on this job. If you don't think that there's going to be dirty money flying around and eventually into Trump's pocket,
Calls for a hypothetical. There's a guy named Bill Gates. I know you guys want to
covered by Trump and donors.
progressive dream world, the progressive delusional world. But there's a guy named Bill Gates who literally
Don't forget,
donates
Canadians are lazy. Don't forget.
billions with no expectation of having any of the money come back. There was another guy named Andrew Carnegie who did the same thing. Andrew Carnegie, do you know him?
yeah, he built the Carnegie libraries across the U.S.
So all the stuff you said afterwards is completely made up by the progressives, trying to make what he's doing wrong.
We have a prime example. We have a gentleman. Hold on, Nick. It kills your whole argument again. Let me help you out. Listen to this. I've got a concrete example, a concrete prime example, and it kills your whole argument. There was a gentleman who donated. Hold on, Nick. There was a gentleman who donated. Hold on, Nick. Listen up. This is a concrete, real-world example of the corruption from Trump. There was a gentleman who donated $300 million to get him elected, and what ended up happening? He killed all the litigation going into his companies, and now has more contracts with the government, plus has his own entity within that actually stole data from people's social securities.
Nick doesn't care about that.
That company is called Doge right now, and the head of Doge was Elon Musk. So we know for a fact that it is corruption.
No, here's what kills your argument. Elon Musk donated several $100 million expecting that he would get a tax credit. Expected.
No. Nick,
and it didn't happen.
Incorrect, Nick.
It did not happen.
Nick, listen up. Nick, time out. Nick, you're wrong.
You're mad because Trump.
No, you're wrong. Elon Musk wanted to kill all the litigation or all the actual hunts into his companies. That's what he wanted. And you know what he did? He killed all the litigation and inspectors generals into his companies. So everything you're saying right now is just made up.
The tax credit for EVs stand.
I come with receipts. I do not speak from emotion. I come with receipts.
Can you answer this question rather than talking? Did the tax credits for electronic vehicles?
Did Elon Musk kill all the inspectors general's investigations into
yes
his
or no?
Did Elon Musk kill fire all the inspectors generals that were investigating his company?
Answer this question.
Answer the question, Nick. Answer the question, Nick. We're doing the same
question. Yes
because mine is
a beautiful bill.
You were just tax credits right now. Trying. Here, I'll even do something for you, Nick. I'll even do something for you. I'll say two things can be true at one time. The thing about firing all the inspectors generals that were looking into his companies and canceling and actually getting more contracts for his companies, yes, that happened. The tax credits for the EVs, that hurt. Sure, yeah, it happened. But hey, two things can be true at one time.
Hey, Nick, can you read chat? Can you read from chat?
So I'm looking at an article from Forbes magazine, a respected financial rag. It says that in the past year, Trump's net worth has gone from 2.3 billion to 5.1 billion, mostly through crypto. If you want to wash a bunch of money, if you want people to be able to funnel money to you, you need large enterprises that can make it seem reasonable to have tens of millions of dollars routed to you. That's money laundering 101. On Breaking Bad, when they started making a ton of money through selling meth, they bought a car wash so they could launder that money through the car wash. Eventually, they made so much money they couldn't plausibly run it through the car wash, and they ended up with a used storage unit with a couple cubic yards of $100 bills. It wasn't big enough to launder through.
Yeah. I heard all this stuff before. And tell me how Nancy Pelosi went from broke to being
Oh,
rich.
so
What
Nancy
about
Pelosi.
aboutism?
I can't.
Hold on.
Nancy
Oh,
Wait. Hold on. Wait. I got a question. Nick, hold on.
Okay, tell me about Pelosi.
That's the oldest
hold on.
argument
Hold on.
in the world.
Here's a
What
question.
about?
Nick, if
What
you
about-
feel that what Nancy Pelosi did was bad, do you feel that way? It's a yes or no.
Oh, yeah.
You do. So Trump has actually done worse. Do you feel that the money laundering with cryptocurrency that he's doing currently right now, and also what he's doing with accepting bribes, such as the plane that he took from Qatar, do you think that is bad?
No.
So again,
No,
now we
Because
have
you
the
have
issue
no
of
evidence of
bribes.
bribes.
Now we
And
understand
the
why.
plane in Qatar is
No,
what
hold on,
they-
Nick, hold on.
This
Why?
is all progressive.
Now we see why we have an issue. You're gonna sit here and bring up Nancy Pelosi and complain about her, and even if we agreed on that, knowing that, and like how he disappears on this, knowing that it is bad, and he's like, oh, it's bad, stock trading. Well, she wants the stock trading bill to go through. Trump doesn't. Why? Because he's doing it.
All right, so
It's
Nancy
totally-
Pelosi is married to
the man
Paul
has
Pelosi.
left.
Hold on.
The man
Nancy
has left
Pelosi's
the building.
Nancy Pelosi's married to Paul Pelosi. They're both old. He's 85. He's been a venture capitalist for decades. In the past 6 years, venture capitalists have done wildly well. But that's his job. He figures out how to spend a ton of money to make a ton of money. And apparently at age 85, he's old and experienced and good at it. And yeah, maybe he's taken some insider tips from Nancy. And as like, yeah, and that's not good. But at the same, even without insider tips, venture capitalists have done freaking well in the past 10 years.
Yeah, we have a venture capitalist show that airs on Thursdays. I think that's with Dr. Asher, who's over at Duke, and actually had a good conversation around light yesterday and everything like that. But the other part of the Trump gate that is going on now is the Epstein case, and apparently there's new evidence that is out there now.
Before we get to Epstein, just a quick comment. I find it interesting every time we have conversations and Nick starts losing the argument, he disappears. Typical MAGA.
Yeah, he's in the background hiding.
Yeah, I know. He's a coward. Show your face, Nick.
He may pop back up later, but right now maybe he's on a phone call. But yeah, he's over there. But I did see that there was a new information where apparently, because he keeps denying that he knew or was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, but there's new evidence that he was, because there was a case where somebody said that they had come to his casino with an underage young lady. The underage young lady was actually the famous tennis player Gabriella Sabatini and everything when she was 19 years old. And apparently there were some friends of hers that were younger. They might have been in that 17, 16 age range and everything like that. So definitely this came out in a book sometime back, and I forgot the author's name, but it sounds like he is putting it out there again that this is a known fact. And to your point, Rick, he keeps saying about the failed business ventures and everything like that. So he's had several failed business ventures as well. So maybe folks are starting to catch on to some of his bad ways.
Well, I mean, people who invest in
I know you guys think a lot of yourself and your extremely poor arguments and the ability to talk over people, and you think that I left because of that. It had nothing to do with it. It had to do with my office. My new office I moved into has an echo. I need to lay down some rugs to try to lessen the echo. But in terms of your arguments, they're extremely weak. You all know that the government under Biden is spending lots of money on ridiculous things. He decides to spend $200 million to provide a better government function. And I can tell you myself, I have rented a lot of places. I believe here, nobody in this room has rented as many places as I have. And it's very expensive to rent Class A space. So when 200 million is actually a real investment, the 2 billion or the 14 billion that they do for Internet for All that should be provided by Apple or Facebook or Google is not an investment. It's government throwaway. It's the reason your party is not in power and will continue to lose elections if you continue down this road, Council. So go ahead and keep up your.
How many elections have the Democrats lost in the last 5 elections? How many elections?
Just thank you,
bringing that up. How many elections have the Democrats lost in the last 5 elections? So this is ridiculous argument. The numbers.
Nick, let me understand your complaint. You're saying Internet for All should be provided by a phone maker, which Apple is, and Google, that the server side stuff, they don't really lay down the lines or anything. That's actually AT&T and all your other cellular devices. So let's say you didn't know that, and we'll go with those. So what we'll do now is you're saying that Internet for All should be provided by private companies.
Correct.
But something that is so you're saying that, and you're quoting some number of 2 billion. Is that what you're saying?
The numbers that I would be receiving were 65 billion and 14 billion respectively.
So 65 billion. So you're saying that the private entities should donate the 65 billion or whatever to do the Internet for All, even though none of the truckers or the truck industry provided any money for the actual what do they call that? The interstate highway system. So that was all a government function. But you want the government to provide a gold-plated ballroom.
Yeah. Even
though private entities can actually provide that as well. Why should one be provided by private entities, but the other one isn't? And this is the interesting part. This is the really interesting part. And this is, again, how poor your argument is. As Rick pointed out, Trump is saying that the ballroom will be privately financed. So why does the government have to provide or upgrade this ballroom? Why can't a private entity provide a particular place?
It might.
All right, let's move on to job numbers.
You have no solutions. You're just coming up with random numbers and saying arbitrary.
The new job numbers are out, and they're the worst month since COVID.
Also, Rick, they did revise June down lower. They said June was a lower than expected as well.
Right, so it's the worst 2-3 month span.
Right. And how many of them were government employees that lost their worthless jobs? Talk to me.
So jobs are jobs. Hold on, Nick. Jobs are jobs. And when you are firing people and letting people go, we revise the number down, that affects the economy. Even though the man who works for the post office is a government job, that means those individuals in that postal area are now going to have delayed mail deliverings because the gentleman from the post office can no longer come to their house. So therefore, when you're just saying government jobs, understand what you're complaining about. Then instead of just saying, well, government jobs. So again, these jobs that were lost, and because we have lower numbers, we also have a particular problem where these companies, private companies, not government positions, they cannot hire, and they're abstaining from hiring due to the tariff issue because they don't know if they can hire or they have to buy their products because their products themselves are skyrocketing due to the tariff policies. The tariff policies have kicked in a lot of chaos in the actual economy, which is why right now, when they said the GDP was sitting at 3 for the last quarter, that was ringing hollow to a lot of people. Hence the reason why the stock market has tanked today. And actually it began tanking yesterday. So when you want to say, oh, government jobs, no, they're jobs. And people can't find jobs because people aren't hiring. Because again, the chaos in the economy created by this administration.
Oh, well, you know, the thing is the loss of government jobs, I don't know why you're supporting it, Jacoby. We shed a lot of government jobs because a lot of government jobs, and you're defending the post office. Have you ever heard of FedEx? Have you heard of UPS?
Yeah, FedEx uses the post office. FedEx does not go to rural areas. FedEx hires the post office to go to rural areas. You need to learn these things if you're just
the post office. Tell me why private industry beats the tail out of
private industry uses a federal industry to deliver to these rural areas that they do not go to. That is what you're not understanding, but you seem to miss it.
So the post office is not a for-profit company. It's a constitutionally mandated public service designed to knit the whole country together with affordable postage rates. And yeah, FedEx and UPS have taken over. So is email. So the post office is kind of under siege, including what the Republicans in Congress did 20 years ago, which is require the post office to fund 70 years of future pensions of post office workers, which the idea was to bankrupt the post office so it could be privatized as a favor for Republicans' friends in private industry. I mean, this is common knowledge. And even so, the post office has survived, and you can still send a letter for what, 75 cents? Which is more than the 2 cents it cost in the 1930s, but it's still great.
Federal employees are responsible for vital oversight, protection, and public services that are currently under stress.
Yeah, I mean,
and people don't realize that when you're talking, I mean, the VA, the people that work in the VA are government jobs. The people that work in particular hospitals are in government jobs. People, government work is not, hey, we've got politicians.
There's a good example of government, and I read a book a couple of years ago. I think it was the state of Kansas or Missouri, one of those Midwestern states, and the governor decided he was going to cut back on a whole wide swath of government services, and to save money and basically save taxes and lower taxes. That was implemented, and the result of that was a disaster. School funding, hospitals, it was a disaster. And that was at the state level. And the people in that state booted him out. I mean, I think he lasted one what do you call it, election cycle?
Yeah, one term. And he was out. Yep.
So again, people that kind of, pay the slip service of saving money, lowering taxes, not to the extent that this one example in the state I mentioned.
Well, yeah, and this is not the only example, but there's been examples even of like some one of the most important government jobs is one that none of us, I think, would want to do the job, even though I know some people. I've got some friends, including the husband of a good friend that does this job and everything. But we have seen what happens when sanitation workers go on strike, and that is a government job, by the way, or when other people go on strike and all along those lines. And then there's trash stacked up, and then it becomes a nightmare. And we've seen that in various cities.
Well, check this out. And this just happened recently. And this is part of what's going on in Texas. Because remember, the government job that would have helped those individuals, that person was not there. Why? Because when Trump and Doge were claiming that these individuals were useless and all this other stuff, and that they had to take this financial out, well, they took that. And now what happened? The flooding in Texas, that individual was supposed to relay the information across to everybody else. They were the first point of contact for that area. And Trump removed them. Trump and Doge removed them. Even
that would be true.
Nick. This is why politics in these areas is bad. Because even if you want to dig deeper into what happened in Texas last year, part of the budget that was released, the money that was given to Texas from the Biden administration was for those sirens and upkeep and all the other stuff that were supposed to go up in that same area. The individuals that were there said that they were not going to take that money because it was from Biden, and they were not going to do anything with it because it was from Biden. That is where politics comes into play and causes harm to individuals. This is why I don't joke around. I bring receipts and I talk about this stuff that I know. I'm not going to sit here and make it up. And no, I talk about receipts. This is what they said. They have them recorded saying that. So these things came about and these things happened because they wanted to play political games because of Trump.
Okay, now let's talk about the California fires and your wonderful Mayor Bass, who was a government official out to lunch in Ghana or some place like Liberia at some function. And then Gavin Newsom, who was out to lunch, allowing wildfires to spread throughout California, destroying thousands of homes and killing hundreds of people. So explain to me how well the Democratic government did in the California fires.
Explain to me how well Texas, all the Republicans did in the floods. You can't. So your argument is poor. Let me explain how, again, your argument.
Tell me about how well
how your argument is poor. You're pointing out Karen Bass. Yes, that was poor of her to be in Ghana at that time. She came back and she tried to work it. And with Gavin Newsom, tried to work it and tried to help. Rick is in California and can attest to what they tried to do.
Yeah, there was some incompetence. I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around.
Exactly.
Utility companies are particularly, I mean, you're a lawyer, so you go to court to determine percent culpability when something bad happens. And out of this 100% responsibility for the fires, there's plenty of blame. You got Newsom, you got Karen Bass, you have the utility companies, you have nature itself, you have the changing climate, you have insufficient building codes. There's a ton of, I don't know, in the final analysis, I don't know who is most responsible or who deserves to pay the political consequences.
And the voice of reason was private industry. The insurance industry warned them about this problem, and they withdrew.
Everybody warned about Texas too, but you haven't yet to say anything about Texas. Nick, so this shows how your argument.
Okay, so wait, Nick, that's your point. The insurance industry, it was a bellwether. They saw what was on the horizon, and there was a mass pullout from California because they could see, due to changing conditions, climate change for the most part, that that California is no longer a profitable place to insure homes. Same for Florida. Due to changing climate, Florida homes keep getting washed out to sea, and it can't get insured in Florida. So,
yeah,
so that is a
people
thing
need to
that-
listen to actuaries. You guys don't listen to actuaries. I listen to actuaries every
Nick,
day.
okay, well,
The
let,
highest IQ group in the world is actuaries.
yeah, okay.
They're now not mouthpieces, so people don't listen to them.
no,
And the
Nick,
actuary said it's going to happen.
Nick, but what you seem to, this is why, again, your argument, Nick, this is why your argument rings hollow again. Rick just pointed out, Nick just pointed, listen, Rick just pointed out that the same thing about Florida, the same thing, you can even talk about the coast of North Carolina, the same thing about New Orleans and St. Louis area and coasts of Texas, all these places, your actuaries that you're talking about will not insure, and because it's a loss of money in those areas. And LA, yes, where it was built, and that's been there for years. And so there are plenty of places across the US where these actuaries that you're actually trying to quote all will say that it is a loss of money. All these individuals worry about these places.
The GOP doesn't even think climate change is real.
Yeah, they've taken that out.
Problem. That's a problem.
Yep. And so the argument again, Nick, this is where it rings hollow. When you just point out one area, but ignore all the other issues, because the problem in LA was actually a tad bit different than the problem in Texas. The problem in LA, yes, it's that fire area, but also in Texas, you have the flood area where they did not put up sirens, which they could have. They literally said in Texas that they were not going to put it up because they actually because Biden gave them this money, and they weren't going to use it because it was going to be like a deal with the devil. So they actually caused a lot of harm with that, and that's a problem. But no one in California said we're not going to take the money from Bush. We're not going to take the money from Trump.
Hey, Jatovi, quick check on actuaries. I put actuaries and climate change in an AI. Yes, actuaries recognize that climate change is real and a significant risk.
So, but LA has a bigger problem than climate change. Anybody who lives in LA knows this is a 120-year-old problem where LA is a desert, and we stole all the water from Central California to make LA bloom, to turn it into an 8 to 10 million person megalopolis or whatever. And the movie Chinatown is about, LA is built on, well, so is Florida, on real estate scams and developers getting in there, paying people off. And so, yeah, the LA is a tough environment for fire because LA shouldn't even be here. It's built on stolen water.
That's fair enough. Okay. All I'm saying is that unfortunately, people do not listen to actuaries. They listen to people like AOC. And it would be better if you listen to smart actuaries as opposed to dumb AOC.
Well, actuaries are risky. Okay, so
what are you talking about? You're just making up stuff.
Actuaries aren't loud and obnoxious. Actuaries are not loud and obnoxious like AOC.
Soon he's going to say,
but let's talk about what actuaries are. Actuaries are mathematicians who work for insurance companies. It's the most rigorous professional certification in the world. You have to take a series of 10 exams to become a fully licensed actuary. And actuaries tell the insurance companies how much to charge to insure people based on predicting future liabilities. It's a brutal and very mathematically demanding field, and any actuary who's competent is going to look at climate change because it's a determining factor for what's going to happen to homes in the next few decades.
Yeah, they look at risk. Absolutely.
Yeah, they look at risk and they assess risk and they assess
Do you think
probabilities.
climate
They
change
figure
is
out what's going to
real?
happen.
Are you?
Politicians don't do any of that. Politicians are dumb. If you want to spend time with smart
Hey,
people,
Nick, quick question.
I'm
I'm curious to know. Do you think climate change is real or what?
Well, climate change has been going on since the dawn of man.
Is it human caused? Is it
Oh,
caused by,
anthropomorphic. You
is it
know,
caused by humans?
in my opinion, there's an anthropomorphic aspect to climate change, of course.
So
I
is
looked
it
it up. There are
primarily-
no.
hold on. Is it primarily responsible for climate change? Are humans primarily on this earth today? I'm very curious to see how far the world you're in.
I would have my categories, whether or not they're primary or there's other factors. They probably.
There's another thing that is happening. I mean,
So I didn't
there's
get a
tons
clear
of-
answer, yes or no. Hold on, Rick. I want to
So you're
get.
not having an answer. I already deferred.
Okay, so you're not.
So my answer is ask the actuaries. Do we have any actuaries here? Nope.
Here,
So we
Nick,
don't have the answer to that.
do me a favor. Can you ask your actuaries about Texas?
About Texas? My actuaries charge a lot of money to tell me. They don't show up for free.
But you ask, you
What's
want
the
to ask.
thing? I'm going to ask you for legal opinions for
Nick,
free. Sure.
Nick, the reason I asked that is because you want to ask them about California. Ask them about Texas as well.
Yeah, well, at $500 an hour, you can ask them.
No, but you want to ask. You're the one who's asking them
Yeah,
about.
you're the one that said, listen to actuaries. We assume that you have access to actuaries.
You said listen to
Apparently not.
actuaries. I said ask them about Texas too. You said
I looked it up. There are 0 actuaries serving in Congress, which is what you'd expect.
Oh, really? None in Congress?
0. I don't know if there's.
So you have what they call adverse selection, a bunch of dumb people. serving
Yeah.
Congress. The smart people aren't there.
Yes.
hold on. Wait. Are actuaries the only smart people?
No, they're.
Thank you. So then you're coming again. You're just making up stuff.
No.
Because an actuary doesn't serve in Congress. You know who else isn't in Congress? Is there a person who used to be a sanitation worker in Congress? What about a
IQ groups?
let's see, what other jobs?
In terms of jobs or actually.
Climatologist would
Yeah.
be good. Climatologist would be good.
I would say.
I just looked up how many members of Congress have PhDs. 22 members of the House and 4 senators, which is pretty good, except that
Here's a funny one. Here's a funny one for you to look up, Rick. Now, remember, Nick keeps saying that there are a bunch of dumb people in Congress. How many lawyers?
How many lawyers? Hey, Rick, how many lawyers are in Congress?
I'll find out, but it's
A lot of dumb people.
177 lawyers.
177 lawyers?
Yeah.
Wow.
That takes it. That's the winner. We got the winner.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of dumb people in Congress.
Yeah. Are you
Well,
gonna be
the deal
joining
is like some of the people with the highest degrees in Congress are the biggest lunatics, or the ones with, like Thomas Massey, I think might have a doctorate in mining engineering, and you know he's pretty self-serving. Rand Paul, has an ophthalmology. He's got a degree in.
Remember, he made that one up, though.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Remember, he created that one for himself, wasn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
it's more complicated than that. He initially passed the licensing organization that everybody passes to be an eye doctor, and then he had gotten a fight with him, and so he started his own. So it's not that he can't pass the regular, certification. It's that he got in some kind of, and that's kind of typical of highly educated people in Congress, that there's a touch of being a lunatic with being a
It
PhD.
sounds to me, Rick, we have too many lawyers and not enough actuaries, and it sounds to me we're also.
Sure, yeah.
So,
Actuary is tough. I started on that path, and boy, I got the hell out.